This is the opensource.club, a free St. Louis-focused knowledge share podcast. Through industry experts, entrepreneurs, personal stories, and more, we provide the information you need to achieve and thrive. Always visit our website, theopensource.club, for more details. Contact us on Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn. Now, here's your host, Jim Singer.
In their March issue, the Wall Street Journal featured an article on marketing. The biggest issue for CMOs today is the critical need to reskill their marketing options and build new capabilities in areas like big data, analytics, digital, social, mobile, gamification, and design. With so much technology going on in today's marketing world, sometimes it could be a little intimidating for somebody who's not familiar with how to use the marketing strategies that are available today. I'm Jim Singer, and I'm your host for today's The OpenSource.Club podcast. My guest today is Lori Feldman, also known as the Database Diva. Welcome, Lori.
Thank you.
I think the way we should start is, how in the world do you get a name like Database Diva?
Well, actually, I went through a rebranding over about 10 years ago now, and wanted to come up with a name that really described what I did, and I was having trouble with it. So I had lunch with a friend, and she said, well, you're all about the data. Why don't you just be the Database Diva? And, of course, at that time, nobody was really having company names like that. So I loved it, immediately loved it. And so when I decided that was what I was going to go with, we were kind of unusual in the marketplace. There weren't a lot of divas and dudes and experts and gurus.
You're a trailblazer.
In my own little world, yes.
Well, let me share some information about your background with our listeners. You're a St. Louis native, and
Yep.
You're part of an entrepreneur-focused family. Your mom was the president of Frame Factory?
Yep.
That's a name most St. Louisans should know. That was around for a long time and very successful. With the older ways of marketing, there wasn't the kind of marketing technology out there that there is today. How did that store get so successful?
Well, first of all, thank you to all your listeners out there who helped put me and my siblings through college. We all worked at the stores growing up. And it was actually started by my dad after he had his first heart attack, and his doctor said, no, you can't work anymore. So my dad thought, I can't work anymore, so I'll just start my own business because then I can control my own hours and rest when I need to. Well, we know how that ended up. They went from one store to 10 in the commercial division, and they were a pretty big company for a while. My mom ultimately had about 100 employees. But that was really how I got started in this business, because they were an early pioneer in using coupon advertising, or the first, it wasn't digital at that time, but direct response advertising. They'd put a Valpak coupon out, and people would line up to come in and get a discount on their framing, and you could measure it. And we did some very unique direct marketing promotions using their database, and they were all about the database before anybody really knew that that was a thing that you should have. And they were always trying to build their list, and they found that their best customers were repeat customers. So they kept a mailing list so that they could keep inviting them back when they had new moldings come in or new matte techniques or something like that. And that was really how I cut my teeth on the whole direct marketing industry, and what led me into being the Database Diva.
Very, very smart planning on your parents' part, and obviously it spilled over to you. And Lori, in case you haven't guessed this by now, is here to share some specific marketing strategies in the digital age and how small and mid-sized businesses can be as effective as the giants out there that are using technology.
Absolutely. I mean, there has never been a better time to start a business or grow a business than now, with all of the free options for promoting yourself and branding yourself and getting word of mouth out there. And, in the old days, we had to hire agencies to help us. We had to hire PR companies. We had to go on the radio and pay money to advertise ourselves that way. And now we can be our own broadcasting, publishing entity on behalf of our own businesses.
Would you say that's a double-edged sword, however? Because while there's a lot of area to promote yourself free in the digital world, the technology aspect of getting to know what to do, how to do it, where to do it, when to do it, that takes a little time and education on that, don't you think?
Absolutely. I mean, it's a wealth of options, and I think the biggest overwhelm that I see on my clients' part is, where do I start? What do I focus on? And it's hard to know that without spending money. I mean, the good thing is you can do stuff for free, but the bad thing is you're just kind of treading water unless you really know where your own customers are hanging out and you focus on those channels. And sometimes figuring that out costs money. So you're absolutely right, Jim.
And of course, analytics comes into this.
Absolutely. You can't know where you're going if you're not measuring what you've done.
And if you don't know how to use the analytics, that can be daunting as well, right?
Yeah, but, almost everybody can figure out how to set up their Google Analytics because Google owns the world, and Facebook now has some amazing back-end tools that allow you to monitor a social presence on Facebook. So it's, it takes a little bit of learning curve, but it's not impossible. And that's what YouTube was for, so we can all figure out how to do this, right?
So you're there to help guide these people that you help to show them the light on how they can use this stuff effectively. And currently you're the president, CEO of Aviva LLC. Is that correct?
Aviva is my corporate name, and the database Diva is my DBA, and that's what I go to market with.
And can you tell me about your organization?
Everything starts with your list and collecting your customer and prospect information from all of the places that you have interactions with customers and prospects. It should be goal number one. So your mailing list, your website interactions, if you've got a shopping cart, your presence on social media, if you network in real life, all of those contacts need to be put into a one world view, so a CRM, a database, whatever you want to call it, a mailing list, so that you can track buyer behavior and figure out how to design marketing that resonates with them based on what they're doing. Because, in the old days, we could kind of push marketing out to our customers and say, here's this latest product and you should buy this. And now customers, consumers, business people have so many choices that are just a Google search away. They don't need you to push products down their throats. They're going to go where they have a perceived need. So you have to be present when that need arrives. So one of the things that my company does is figure out where the market demand is for your products and services. And not everybody has a sexy product to sell. So it's not always super easy to figure out what your unique selling proposition is and where you bring value to the marketplace. So one of the things that I do is help people figure out how to tool what they're selling so it appeals to an audience who would be interested in buying that thing, whether it's a $5 thing or a $50 million thing, which would take longer. But you can use your data that you've collected to figure out where the sweet spots are and how to make better sales faster.
This is all part of the database marketing, isn't it?
Correct.
How effective is database marketing in this digital age?
Well, first of all, it's the only form of marketing that is measurable. So business owners can track their success, whether they're paying nothing or they're actually paying money, which I recommend paying money because you get there faster. You get the end result that you're looking for faster when you pay money, just like anything in life. For example, posting to social media may be trendy, but only very few businesses can trace that kind of ROI back to the time that it takes to be on social media. So there are other more effective ways in some cases to spend money to get results, and all of that gets back to digital marketing and what I call database marketing, where it's trackable.
Can you tell me about your background and your success with your company? Because, of course, people are going to ask those questions. Why should I listen to you? And what do you know? And how do you know it? Those are questions that people probably have on their mind. So Can you please tell me about your success story?
Those are what my customers ask me all the time.
I figure.
And we all love the customer who, pays you money and then wants to do it their way anyway. My parents' business was started in the 80s. And like I said, that was my offline experience. So I've actually been doing this almost 30 years, pre-internet, post-internet, digital now. Everything is moving to Facebook. Everything is moving to actually the big three, Google, Amazon, Facebook, and not necessarily in that order. But a couple of years ago, we helped a brand new startup go from $0 to $4 million in 3 years by strictly using a database marketing principle. And that's an extreme case of success because it was like all moon and stars were in alignment for the kind of business they were in, the target audience that was available to sell to, the demand for their product, all of it perfectly aligned. So it was kind of an easy project to undertake. But more recently, we've discovered that laser targeting your audience on Facebook is working really, really well, even in the B2B marketing environment. So for one of our clients, who was a manufacturing client, they make a product that they sell to other businesses, and it's a very specialized product. Not everybody would have an interest in it, but we were able to drive qualified traffic to their website by advertising on Facebook, which is so counterintuitive, it really surprised me. But there's so much you can do, again, when you've got the data, the list, and that was a case of taking their list, uploading it to Facebook, and then marketing to their customers and prospects in a new environment that had never seen their information in that distribution channel. So very exciting, lots of opportunities with Facebook for businesses beyond just posting and getting likes and shares.
It sounds like there's almost like a template that if you go down and do this, and this, based on past experience and history, these kinds of things should happen for you, X or Y or whatever it is.
Well, that's what I love about database marketing, because it's very formalized. And if you can figure out the perfect formula for your business, then it's a slam dunk. The problem is figuring out that formula, and it may take many trial and error attempts before you narrow in on what exactly is working. So, in business, we want to fail fast because we can get to the good stuff faster, but a lot of people never even start. And so that's one of my jobs, is to bring the checklist with me and see, what have you done, what haven't you done, and let's fill in the gaps and get to the good stuff at the end with the ROI showing if you spend $1, you're going to make $10, or you're going to make $20, or maybe even more back on that investment when it's put in the right place.
I'm glad you brought up the fail success story, because I just read a book about that, and one of the things it mentions strongly is to accept the fact that there will be failure, and that's not a bad thing. It's probably a good thing, because you learn from that and you learn how to avoid more of that. So I'm really glad you brought that up. But what do you feel is the most important thing to know when it comes to marketing?
Well, Jim, when you say marketing covers a lot of ground, and I tend to focus strictly on database marketing, which is taking your data that you either have or that you have created by doing certain things online or offline to create more of a list for yourself. And I would say the most important thing in database marketing is the list. It's never too early or too late, if you haven't started yet, to build a list so that you can understand your analytics and how to use the information to leverage more sales, more referrals, and more leads coming into your business.
So if I'm a small business owner, what kind of advice would you have for somebody like me?
I would say, number one, build your list. What that means is get very clear on who your ideal customer is. So many businesses say, well, I can sell my product or service to anybody. Well, that's fine, but online, digitally, that is not a very compelling story. You want to be as targeted as you can. You want to talk in the language of the person who needs what you're selling. And if you're selling to everybody, that message is going to get lost. So your list of who you've already had success with and the prospects that you're attracting and what their behaviors are is really going to tell you where your sweet spot is. And it doesn't mean that you can't sell to everybody. Of course, we're not going to turn down sales, but when you go to market, you want to have a very specific person in mind that you want to sell to so that you can be as relevant as possible when you talk to that person and attract them into your world, into a community of people who are like them, so that they feel like, okay, this company gets me. This company understands what I'm about better than anybody else online that I have found. That's what you're going for, and the only way that you can do that is to build a list and understand the target audience as much as you can and use what you've learned in your marketing as you go.
And I would suspect that marketing is a constant, ongoing, consistent sort of thing rather than a once in a while thing.
Never a one and done. You're never, ever going to be done doing it. And that's actually a very good point, because so many people think, well, I tried that once, now I need to try something else. When you find something that even works a little bit, you can do some continuous improvement to make sure that you're still doing the same thing that worked, but you're doing it a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better. And there's new people coming into the marketplace all the time. So somebody who wasn't interested at all a year ago in what you were doing is now online looking for you. If you give up, you're not going to find them, or better yet, they're not going to find you.
Very good point. Lori, is there anything that we haven't covered here that you'd like to talk about?
I guess another piece of advice that I would give is don't get hung up on the trends of the marketplace. You know, if people are saying, oh, Snapchat, oh, Pinterest, there's another bright new shiny object always out there for you to pursue. And instead, take a deep breath and go back to your list and see where your customers are hanging out and master that platform if you're looking at social media before you do anything else, and really get to know what is the value that the person that you're trying to sell to, what are they getting out of being on that platform, what is drawing them there, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. You don't have to be an expert in everything. You just have to be an expert in whatever it is that your customers are doing. And that's going to limit the amount of time and effort and overwhelm that you're going to face when you go out and attempt to attract that customer to your business and to your community that you're trying to build.
Great advice. And if you're starting out a business and you've had a passion for it, that's a good place to start. But you certainly need some kind of marketing for whatever it is you do. And you certainly have the opportunity to meet Lori, who's an expert in this field, and maybe have some conversation with her about how she can help you gather the information you need to be successful in your business. If you're interested in learning more about Lori Feldman and Aviva, visit her website, thedatabaseddiva.com. Let me say it again, thedatabaseddiva.com. Obviously, a wealth of information here, Lori. Thank you so much for your time and sharing your valuable information with us today.
Thanks, Jim. Appreciate it.
You've been listening to another informational podcast by the opensource.club. I'm Jim Singer. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening to the opensource.club podcast. Become a subscriber through RSS or YouTube. There's more to come that you won't want to miss. Our name is our web address, theopensource.club.